in the office. So I decide, all right, son, I'm sorry. We're going to have to go to the office really quickly. I'm sorry. And I go to the office, I sign the important document and fax it or do whatever I had to do. And by the time we end up getting to the game, it's already halftime. And I had no idea there was going to be this much traffic, and I felt so bad. I'm thinking to myself, I only have so many opportunities to forge these memories with my son. And to be honest, I felt like a bad father. And little did I know it, but there's technologies available that would have allowed me to get that work done directly from home without having to take that side trip and miss the first half of the game. And one of the solutions that I'm talking about is SharePoint Services, which allows you to create digital workspaces where you can access all the tools and resources you need to get your job done. Perhaps this is a little bit of an exaggerated example, but I think you can agree with me. This is much more engaging and memorable than talking about ASP.NET, SQL Server, web farm environment, etc. Let me give you one more approach, and you can take many. Recently, my family signed up for Netflix, and for whatever reason they decided we have to rent An Inconvenient Truth. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but it's a movie produced by Al Gore that focuses specifically on global climate change. And although I'm not exactly sure if I agree with all the facts and figures, after watching it, I thought, what if our ozone is being depleted and there's an impending ice age? I thought to myself, there has to be something I can do. And I was thinking, what if my employees were able to work from home at least part of the week? That would significantly reduce the amount of gasoline emissions and hopefully reduce these negative impacts they have on the environment. Well, I found out about a really cool solution called SharePoint, which allows my workers to access all the documents and resources they need directly from home. So again, two different approaches you can take of many. What I recommend you do is use the product yourself and try to come up with a story that's real with you on how this product is of value to you. And I'll throw in one bonus because both of the previous two stories were actually made up. So I'll give you one that's real with me of the value of SharePoint and also the ability to connect it to Outlook. I'm a traveling presenter, and almost every week you'll find me at airports around the country. I work in a team that's also spread out across the country and traveling all the time. As you can imagine, communicating and collaborating can be a real challenge. And this is something that happens to me a lot, and I think many of you can probably relate. Oftentimes I go to the airport, of course 2 hours in advance, so I have plenty of time to go through security. And when I get to my gate, I search frantically for a power outlet. Usually there's 2 or 3 of them for whatever reason. And then I'm ready to try to get some work done. And then I realize, oh man, I need internet access. And oftentimes I'm paying $14, $15, sometimes even $20 for 1 or 2 hours of internet access, which honestly I consider to be highway robbery. Well, little did I know, but there's tools and resources available that allow me to connect to all of the information I need and also do so in a way that automatically pulls it into Outlook and then does so in an offline manner. So for example, maybe I wanted to review the call notes from the conference call yesterday, and all I have to do is open up Outlook, and I'm using a technology called SharePoint, which allows me and my team to store all my documents in a centralized digital location, and then every time I send and receive within Outlook, it automatically searches for documents within the document library of that SharePoint site and automatically pulls in a offline version of it. So those call notes from the conference call yesterday are automatically populated with an Outlook. I can go in, open them up, search for the information I need, write an email, and then the next time I have internet access, I'll be able to send and receive and send it right out. So the value there is really tremendous. And so with all of this being said, I'm ready to show you how I've been presenting SharePoint to small and medium-sized customers. And before I do so, just please consider what we've just talked about and appreciate the value of it. When you're talking about a product like SharePoint, which has substantial value but can be hard to understand if just presented in a feature term presentation, always remember the importance of presenting it in a way that makes sense to the end customer. And SharePoint is a product that's exploding with growth. It's a phenomenal solution. In many ways, it is software as a service and so many other things. And so just always remember to emphasize the value in a way that's relevant to them. To begin, I'd like you to take a moment and go back in time 20 years ago. I want you to remember what your desk looked like. When I close my eyes, I see a large physical paper calendar with all my important appointments penciled in, an inbox and outbox jam-packed with documents, a business ledger with all my important business cards and other contact information, a typewriter. This desk 20 years ago was truly a workspace, in that I had to be in that space to get work done. Well, now what does your desk look like? For most people, it's nothing more than a place to hold their computer. So take advantage of that. With technology like SharePoint services, you can make any computer into what your desk was 20 years ago by being able to take advantage of digital workspaces or digital locations where you can access all the tools and resources you need to get your job done from almost any computer with an internet browser and an internet connection. SharePoint was originally offered as a free add-on for anyone who purchased a Windows Server operating system. Originally, it was designed for companies to create very basic internal sites or intranet sites. It's really evolved significantly since its original release and is now primarily used to create team sites or digital workspaces where people can come together and communicate and collaborate with one another. And this not only includes internal teams, but it could include key vendors, key customers, or anyone else that you choose to give access to the site. For many small businesses, their definition of collaboration is opening up an email attachment, making changes to that email attachment, and then saving it as a new version and sending it out. This is both inefficient and also causes many security concerns. At any given point in time, there may be 5 or 6 versions of the truth, and it's also very difficult to monitor and control access to much of that information, much of which may be confidential. So solutions like SharePoint allow you to store all those documents in a single location, make changes and track the changes, while also only having one version of the current truth. About 10 years ago, most companies had 2 primary sites, a public-facing external site and an internal intranet site. Now most large companies have hundreds, if not thousands of different sites